Welcome to MPUNGWE-PUNGWE YouTube channel. Subscribe for you to enjoy more of our videos anytime we upload.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. And I should also thank the journal for presenting himself before this committee. Chairperson, I've got several questions. And I just wanted to be clear on the timelines. I'm now on.
Can I stop you there? Maybe for further direction. Can you answer the question of? Let's dispose the question of Blantyre Malabad so you can engage him.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Two questions that have been posited. The first one is about the number of ground troops and teams that were actually deployed to conduct the search and rescue operations. It will be very difficult for me to come up with the teams, but I will only concentrate on the ground troops, because on the ground, the soldiers actually were divided by the commanders who were on the ground. So that information, I'm not privy to that information. Precisely, there were 172 MDF troops. 142 troops had come from the 3rd Battalion, which is Moyare Barracks, comprising the 3rd Battalion of the Marawi Rifles. 30 plus 1 had actually come from within. The MDF conducts what we call Tetezankarango operations, and they are usually located within the Chikangawa forest at one of the camps within where the search had commenced. So we had that number of troops. So information about the teams, I think soldiers operate the concept of mission command. Mission command, you are only told what you are supposed to do. And the how is actually taken down to the subordinate commanders for them to utilize their capabilities according to their specialty in the areas of expertise. So if you ask me about the teams, that should actually suffice. That I think it was one whole group which, according to the commanders on the ground, were able to divide into the teams. In terms of the police, I'm told they actually presented a figure of 250 personnel. This was also problematic because they were coming from different locations of the region. So accountability of the 250 that had been that had been reported to have reported for the operation maybe could only be substantiated on the 3rd day as to how many were on the ground. But the report was that the figure, which was actually submitted by the police, was 250. The second question was what prevented the teams to discover the crash site. Certainly, this is an aircraft which was missing. Initially, it was the signal which we're looking for. It could also be tracked by any of the entities that I had actually mentioned in my presentation. Then, to be honest, to say that we were failing to trace the signal means we did not have anywhere where we could start from. This could be the reason as to why we could actually locate and decided to conduct a physical search. And also the reason as to why the physical search had to commence from 2 locations. Chisitu, that is on the southern side, of Kasitu on the southern side of Chikangawa forest, and the Reply aerodrome, which is close to the road, I think, as you are going to Mzuzu on the western side. I think these are the responses that I would give to the honorable member from Blantyre Malabada. I submit and I thank you.
General, may I just reflect on the question by Blantyre Malabada as a supplementary? So you're saying there are about 149 soldiers. Can you confirm the number again, so that I should not miss the actual number? Was it 149 soldiers that were deployed for search and rescue?
172.
172.
Thank you.
In your opinion, General, was the number sufficient? Was the number of soldiers sufficient to conduct a search and rescue in Chikangawa, an area that you said in Nkalango Yokwitima? Was 172 soldiers sufficient to scout the whole of Chikangawa on an aircraft that belongs to the military? In your opinion, was a number sufficient to find your aircraft that had gone missing in an area that was vast and thick with forest? Can you just confirm?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. This number was actually good enough. This is what in the military I would call a company plus. And remember, we have also a team that actually came from Zomba. And the team that actually came from Zomba was about 30 plus, which means it was close to 200. So 200 was good enough to cover the search area if they were deployed efficiently and with a focused approach. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you for that. Zomba City South.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think I will start with where the General has stopped from. You said the MDF was working alongside the police in your submission. And you said the other people who were helping were not under your command. Now, working with the police, I just wanted to be sure who was in charge of these rescue operations between you, the military, and the police. I would like to engage the witness chair. General, you might want to take the question and then I will come again.
Thank you very much. The aircraft which was lost belonged to the MDF. In all operations that civilians are involved, the MDF takes precedence and is usually in charge. Maybe to answer briefly and precisely, MDF was in charge. So it was not a matter of MDF working alongside the police. It was the MDF and the police.
What I wanted was to say MDF was in command.
Thank you very much. MDF was in command. Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable.
Thank you. I noted in your presentation that at a certain point, police operations were being coordinated by the Northern Region Commander of Police. And I've got also on record from the previous witnesses that Mr. Luhanga called off the search efforts at that point. Was these search efforts called off on the side of the police only, or it was also on behalf of the team, including the military?
Honorable Chair, if you follow me, there hasn't been any statement that has come from me talking about Mr. Luhanga stopping the search. I only mentioned Mr. Sean Kamponden called me to ask if I had given an order to actually discontinue the search. And I answered negative. We had our soldiers and we always have our soldiers in Chikangawa. If they were located and are located there all the time, I don't see why there would be that kind of order to say discontinue the search. Actually, soldiers, if you look at the characteristics of the soldiers and even their tasks, is to work throughout by day and night and in all types of weather and terrain. So if this is being advanced, then it's not coming from me. I don't remember, and I have my copy. I don't think I have mentioned anywhere concerning anybody stopping the search. But me, actually, refusing or denying that such an order was promulgated. I thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament.
Thank you so much, General. In that regard, I also wanted to continue. On the search and rescue operations, number 9, the communication with the flight, the last one, you said it was at 10:12, when we were told that the plane was 20 nautical miles north. And I see that the next, what you have written under the search and rescue operations was that at 15 hours, there was some cellular signal under Chikangawa. Between 10:12 and 15 hours, I just wanted to hear from you, General, what was happening under the search and rescue efforts under the military?
Thank you very much, Honorable Member from Zomba City South. The report about contact with the aircraft at the time that I've mentioned is coming from the Air Force Commander through the air traffic control in Mzuzu. It's not something that is being reported by somebody who is in Lilongwe or who is close to the site. So he is being told. And the report of the sighting or getting the signal at that particular material time is from a service provider. So you want to understand where these two are coming from. It's information which was actually provided, and we could not actually discriminate or disassociate to say maybe you are lying or maybe you are saying the truth. It was all information. The Air Force Commander, through the air traffic control in Mzuzu, was given this information. This other one came from our effort through the OPC to say, can maybe the mobile service communication providers assist with locating a signal from the initiative of getting the cell numbers of all the people that were on board, is where we are getting this privileged information to say, no, there's a signal. On further interrogation, we wanted to find out, when you are saying it is coming from the tower in Chikangawa, we requested to say what would be the distance or the radius. Then they gave us the radius of 20 kilometers radius. So 20 kilometers radius is a huge area. You cannot actually start from anywhere. What you need to do is kind of scout or scour the ground or the terrain.
Chairperson, I just wanted the General to tell us what was happening in terms of rescue efforts between 10:12 and 13:15. So I'm not still clear what you were doing as MDF in terms of searching for this flight.
So if I may come in, I think the general has said in between there were meetings. You had 2 meetings, briefing sessions and planning sessions on how to conduct a search and rescue. Is that right? Prior to that, would that be your response that the actual search was only embarked on at 4 o'clock, but in between there were a series of meetings where you were planning? Can you confirm? Maybe that will address his question.
I ought to address this or reinforce this to say, between this, I have said there were preliminary searches, and preliminary searches are efforts where we are trying to locate in other aerodromes within the country and also outside the country. That's number one. Number two, we are saying we are contacting airlines that actually operate within our airspace. And there was mention of Ethiopian and also Kenyan Airways. So these actually reported later on or intend that they had not had any contact and also gotten any kind of tracking or sighting of the aircraft. So if you ask me, these are the activities. Over and above that, there were also these meetings where the search and rescue was being planned. So if you look at the activities at the time, were preliminary searches that were being conducted using other opportunities that could actually avail an opportunity to actually give a direction of the find or finding the aircraft location at the time. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
My last one, Chair. We have information again that when people were at Nkatabe attending the funeral of late Raf Kasambara, the commander informed whoever was at Chikangawa, at Nkatabe, that the plane had failed to land at his and that it had returned to Lilongwe. And now my question is, did you have that information that the plane had failed to land and had returned to Lilongwe? Because this is what the head of state said. It's on record that the plane failed to land in Zuzu and it has returned to Lilongwe. And now I'm seeing here you are saying under 6 that the plane had failed to arrive at its intended destination and that contact with the aircraft had been lost. Can you clarify there?
I want to clarify, Honorable Member, from Zomba City South, Zomba City South. And I want to actually tackle it in this manner. Yes, if you look at 6, I want to start from 5. After the Air Force commander had informed me about the aircraft, the loss of the signal concerning the aircraft, he had requested that he proceed to his office to continue with the activity of searching for the aircraft or looking at the other means of finding where the aircraft was. And as he was going, myself, I mentioned to him, should you re-establish contact with the aircraft, I'm directing that you actually direct that it flies back to Lilongwe. That's number 1. If you actually go to number 8, progress report from the Malawi Air Force. Later, the Air Force commander gave me an update that the air traffic control at Mzuzu Airport that had reported established communication with MAF aircraft Tango 03 when the aircraft was approximately 20 nautical miles north of Mzuzu at around 10-12 hours. However, despite this communication, the aircraft has not landed at Mzuzu Airport as expected, and its whereabouts were unknown. What we are saying is that me directing after this report from the Air Force commander that he had heard it had not landed. I said, should you re-establish contact, inform them or direct them to fly back to Lilongwe. Where the air traffic control is talking about establishing contact at 10:12. This is only a progress report, and it's not saying anything about the aircraft returning. It is only saying they actually had this conversation and contact with the air crew, the aircraft and the air crew. What we are saying is certainly reflects that maybe there were still efforts for them to land somewhere or maybe to return to Lilongwe. It could be from that assumption that a lot of people made or came up with to say maybe they wanted to fly back to Lilongwe. Thank you, Honorable.
So I just wanted to take you back to item number 6 on the same issue, where you're saying at approximately 35 hours, you contacted His Excellency to inform him that the MAF Tango 03 carrying the Vice President and other passengers had failed to arrive at its intended destination, and that contact with the aircraft had been lost. Can you clarify when you say it had failed? Did it attempt to arrive? Did it attempt to land? What did you mean when you say it had failed to arrive? Did it attempt to go to Mzuzu and return? Because there were statements that were made, so this is an opportunity for you to clear yourself.
Thank you. Honorable Chair, had failed to arrive at the intended destination, which means, and I'm saying it is coming from the statement, if we look at the estimated time of arrival, it was supposed to be 10:02, but at this time it had not arrived. So this is actually where the narrative is coming from, to say it had not, okay? It had not arrived at the intended destination, because at the estimated time of arrival, it was not there. And that contact with the aircraft had been lost, because several attempts were made by the towers, both at Kia and also at the Air Force headquarters. They would not actually touch base with the aircraft. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Chairperson, he hasn't answered my question yet. I'm saying the head of state at that time had informed the nation that the plane had failed to land in Mzuzu and that it was coming back. It was told to come back, to return to Lilongwe. It's on record. Now, who was telling the head of state? Who was giving this information to the head of state? Because you as the MDF commander, I thought you were the one who was updating the president regularly. Now we are telling this committee through this submission that it had failed to arrive at its intended destination and that contact with the aircraft had been lost at 10:35. Now the president went on air and said, the plane had failed to land in Mzuzu and that it had been told to come back to Lilongwe. This is where I don't get it clear. You are the same person who are giving this information to the head of state, and now you are telling us something different. Can you clarify, please? Chair, submit.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member of the committee from Zomba City West. You are right. There was that statement that came from the head of state. But when you look at the narrative that is being presented, you'll find that there is a mention to say the aircraft from this para 6, that the aircraft had lost contact and had failed to land. There's also mention when it is being reported by the Air Force commander that the aircraft, I think in the first paragraph, that is it. No. Yes, where the Air Force commander was informing me, and as he was going, after he had narrated to me what he had received from his base, these two statements are almost telling: lost contact, and me directing him to say, if you reestablish contact, if you are able to establish, direct it to fly back to Lilongwe. But the same is also actually happening when the air traffic controller in Mzuzu is saying they had actually established contact at some point, and they were reporting that they were 20 nautical miles north of Mzuzu. Now, you want to relate this to estimated time of arrival. They had not. Then, subsequently, you want to actually come up with a position to say maybe they are trying to return to Lilongwe. On the day, the weather was bad. Certainly, because they could not land, the thinking is that the only option was them to actually go to anywhere maybe they could land, or maybe return to Lilongwe appropriately, so that maybe the aircraft could land and plan otherwise. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
So you can confirm that it was you who told the president that the plane was on its way back, was told to come back to Lilongwe. You can confirm?
Me, yes. Correct, Honorable Member of the Congress.
We get Zomba Tondwe, and then we go that side, Mwanza Central.
Thank you so much, Chair. Former Army Commander, I will start by probably extending the same question from Zomba City South. It is a civil aviation practice that pilots are the ones that determines decision during flight. But in this case, you, through the Air Defense General, instructed the pilots to do as per your directive. Was that not, or is it a practice in military, or that was against the civil aviation practice, in your view?
Honorable Member of the committee, I'm not sure the response that you're looking for. You are saying you are saying the practice in aviation is for the pilot to make decisions, correct?
During flight. You are
saying, in my view, as commander, I commanded that they should actually return. I actually directed, after I was told that the aircraft was actually missing, okay, or could not be tracked. I was talking to the Air Force commander, telling him, if you and your team reestablish contact, from the narration that the weather is bad, direct maybe the aircraft to return to Lilongwe. Looking at maybe they were not going anywhere. That is where all this came from. I'm not sure if I have actually responded correctly, or maybe I misunderstood.
So let me put it clearly. Kapena ndifuse nchijewa mwina chomveka bwino. Malamulo zoyendesa ndege amanena kuti amene ali ndi mphamvu yopanga ziganizo poyendesa ndegeyo mmwamba ndi amene akuyendetsa ndegeyo. Apapa mwatiuza kunena kuti iniyo ndi amene munapereka chiganizo chonena kuti oyendetsa ndegeyo abwerere, koma iniyo simunali mu ndegemo, simaziwa zomwe zikuchitika mu ndegemo. ndimaona ngati zimene sizi kusemphana ndi malamulo kapena poti ndi kusilikali mumapanga mosiyana poyambirira.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member of the committee. The thinking was, the situation was not good. This is why I was advising the Air Force Commander, should your people re-establish contact, direct them to fly back to Lilongwe. It was in the interest of safety. Thank you very much.
Chair, I may continue through you. Yeah, now I wanted Chair him to confirm that despite he was in the doing this in the interest of safety, yes, but I wanted him to confirm that that is against the expected standards. Is that so?
I will not take the "is that so." I want to look at it from a different perspective. The military is a different social construction or creature, and we respond according to what is obtaining on the ground. If our troops are endangered, and we know that maybe they are going to actually come, they are going to actually come into danger or a danger, then certainly we try to protect them. So this actually response or information was basically to actually prevent them from experiencing a hazard. So certainly, I don't want to actually respond in the military or in the civilian way of looking at issues, but the military way of looking at issues. Hence the response to say, if you reestablish, if your people reestablish contact, please direct them to return to Lilongwe.
Thanks,
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Now, Chair, I wanted you to take note of the time he's giving this instruction with reference to the 10:30 time given by the former witness, Honorable Kasambala. Honorable Kasambala, just for your memory, Honorable Kasambala told this House that Honorable Hali Nkandawire, rather Mr. Kasambala told this House, this committee, that Honorable Hali Nkandawire gave them a note to indicate that the plane, the Vice President would not be coming at 10:30. That's when he advised the family. Now, I wanted you to look at this. The time lapse from the expected time of arrival and the time the minister is giving instructions. I think the time was too short, and more so for the army commander, in my view, to make such a decision when you were not in the flight. But maybe I may not continue with the same question because he has said it may be military aspects. Just for noting. Number two, Chair, assuming that is what happens in the military, then would it be wrong for me to confirm that you are the one directing, rather giving instructions at all levels, like in this case, through the general of the Air Force, you could reach out to a pilot, and yet it's the Army General that reports to you, from what you said. So I wanted to confirm that in your capacity as the Army Commander, the CDF, you also could influence decisions at different levels of the Army. Is that so?
I cannot prevent you from, could I say, mannerism, where you are saying, is that so? Because that becomes a bit discomforting. I would say, in military terms, it is good to prevent what can be prevented. So what we're trying to do is to prevent maybe a catastrophe from occurring. This is why, or the reason as to why, when the Air Force Commander was reporting, I said if contact was going to be reestablished, direct them to actually come back in the interest of safety.
Thank you so much.
Thank
My
you.
point, Chair, is I wanted this committee to note that the Army Commander had that kind of influence, just for noting as a committee, had that kind of influence at general's level, and even at people below the generals, just for noting. But as I wound up, Chair, I wanted to get confirmation that during the tragic moment, there were already Malawi Army soldiers in Chikangawa. Would you confirm that?
I will confirm, but I also want to come back to your statement because it's like you are finalizing or maybe pushing me to say I have influence above everybody. Yes, I was in charge. But the situation that obtained on that particular day was me trying to prevent, okay, a catastrophe to happen. That was the reason why I was actually talking to the Air Force commander to be able to actually relate, should they reestablish contact, please, the weather was bad, they should actually fly back to Lilongwe. So for us to actually say, let's note, the commander was able to influence everybody during the operation, I think that might be wrong.
Yeah, on the soldiers, Chair, I asked the question about during the crash of the plane, I wanted him to confirm that there were already soldiers of the Malawi Defense Force in the Chikangawa forest during this particular time.
That is correct, Honorable.
As I wind up the very last one, Chair, you're not sure of the numbers, or you can acquaint this House?
The numbers that were in Chikangawa forest are 30 plus 1 officer and 30 other ranks, and I mentioned. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Chair, the very last one is just to request the General to furnish us with anything that would be used as evidence confirming the procurement of the Zambian helicopter, so that we close up on the assertion by the Honorable Minister of Defense who came yesterday, who gave a slightly different picture than what he said. So just wanted to request if he could provide us any kind of evidence on the same. I submit, Chair.
So the former Minister of Defense said that the Zambian Air Force was ordered to assist with the search and rescue on the 10th, and then also helped with the evacuation of the bodies on the 11th. Now, in your submission, you have clearly indicated that the Zambian Air Force was only responsible for the evacuation of the bodies. So we just wanted to be very clear on the role that the Zambian Air Force did. Did it carry out any work on the 10th, or it only assisted with the evacuation of the bodies on the 11th, so that your report is also consistent?
Thank you very much, Chair. The Zambians only arrived on the 11th in the morning. And as such, they could not actually undertake the search and rescue operations, because by the time they were preparing to proceed to the area where the disaster had transpired, the aircraft had been located at the crash site. So I want to confirm to say the Zambians did not participate in this. Although they came with an idea that they were going to assist in the search and rescue, they did not partake in that activity. What happened, we only asked them to assist us repatriate our dead back to Lilongwe. I want to confirm that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that clarification. Mwanza Central, and then there's Kasena.
Thank you very much. The president of this country, the former president of this country, Dr. Lazarus McCarthy Yakwiya, was on TV on 10th of June when he was updating Malawians about the incident. And in his statement, he said he directed the commander of the MDF to give him updates every 4 hours. It's on record. He made that statement. And on page 4 in your statement, you're saying the former president directed that he be kept continuously updated regarding the progress of the search and response operations. I just want us to clear that element, because when you say continuously, are you saying that every 4-hour period, or continuously as we know what continuously mean? Just to be sure whether this statement is talking about the same statement the president made.
Thank you very much, Honorable from Mwanza Central, and it's a very good question. I think the 4-hour narration and the continuously may be two terms which can be merged. And I think they are in line with maybe was the objective of informing the nation at large. So I would want to join to say the two should be considered as part of the continuously, although when the president was maybe talking about it, he had truncated maybe the message.
Thank you very much.
Or apportioned actually the continuous into 4-hour portions of reporting times. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General. Just to be very specific, he's the one who gave you the direction. Was the direction that you give him an update every 4 hours?
Correct, honorable member of the committee.
Thank you very much. The other question, Chair, is on the statement that General made. You made a statement on TV that efforts to identify the site or the plane was being hampered by the thick forest. I just want to find out where you got this information from. Was it from the one who was commanding the officers at Chikangawa? Because in your statement you're saying by 1305 you had no idea. The plane has not been located, the signal has not been located. But you made a statement that ndege inaliko kwitima. So I just want to know where you got this information from.
I did not talk about that during this presentation. Can I recuse myself until I'm given an opportunity to explain where that transpired? If the committee is interested for me to answer, which will be out of context of the parameters of the terms of reference, I'm more than happy, but I should be given that permission. Because it's something that I have not talked about.
Chair, that's all from me. I had only those two questions.
General, I'm granting you permission to make this clarification because you made the statement.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Chair. I hope it's going to be off record because it's outside the terms of reference.
No, it's not off record because your summons strictly say that you must give us a testimony on events that occurred leading up to the 10th of June. And you have restricted yourself in your presentation to report all incidences and events that happened up to the 10th of June. This happened You made a statement on the 10th of June pertaining to this to this plane crash. So it can be off record. You have taken an oath here. Everything is being recorded. Every conversation is being recorded.
Thank you very much, Chair. There's a question actually that led to this. Number one question that came was, did you have troops in Chikangawa, even before this episode of the plane crash? The answer was yes. I also want to actually take the committee to an understanding that I know Chikangawa from my experiences. I stayed in Mzuzu, the 3rd Battalion of Moyale, as a commanding officer. Over and above that, I've been training in those areas for quite a long time. But maybe to answer this question in a comprehensive manner and exhaustively is to say this came from those that were on the ground. And this also came from the fact that those on the ground did not actually know where this aircraft had actually crashed or maybe landed at the time. And they came up with this statement and complemented my experiences that I had lived and my understanding of the nature of the ground in Chikangawa. So this came, yes, from those that were on the ground to say, you know, Chikangawa is thick. And I want to actually refresh your minds, those that have been on the ground. If you actually come from the Ruawa side and going towards Chikangawa, as you transition or transit through that area, you'll find that it's thick. I hope and I'm reliably informed that the committee was able to visit the area. My question would be, what were your experiences? I think by now, vividly, you have that understanding that that particular portion of the area is thick. And this is where my statement came from when I was talking about the area being thick and using the term, the Chichewa literal term or literal meaning, Kotani, I use Kokwetima. Kokwetima meant Kowirira. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair.
There's Akasena and then Mulanje North.
Thank you so much, Chair. Good afternoon, General. I've noted that when Zomba Tondo was asking a question, I think he had asked you so that you were able to understand each other. He had asked you in Chichewa, but you still responded in English. I'm not so sure whether which part of Unchinji that you don't know how to speak Chichewa, because I have some questions for Chichewa. I'm not so sure if you're going to be able to respond, all of which just go straight into English.
Your discretion, Your Honorable. I leave it to you.
All right. Before I go to the substantive questions, I will take you to when you're responding to 172 soldiers which were on the ground, Zomba City South. I'd asked you if the number was good enough. And if I caught you well, you had said if they were deployed efficiently. You used that word, and I caught it. Now, I want to understand your opinion. When you got the response, we're getting the report from the Brigadier Commander of 101 Brigade Commander, headquarters in Brigadier General Richard Shagona Panja. In your own opinion, 172 soldiers, were they efficiently deployed?
If you ask me, Honorable member of the committee, I want to say yes. It was 172, and I said they were complemented by the team that came from the Air Force, which actually made it.
Yes,
let the figure come to 200.
Yes, you said that, General. We are together, but I'm quoting what you said.
Yes.
Because Zomba Tondo had asked, Zomba City South had asked you, was the number good? Was it enough?
Yes.
And
it was
your
good.
answer was, if they were deployed efficiently. You used those words. Now, I want your opinion as a commander. 172 members, were they efficiently deployed? Quote in your own word.
Honorable member, if you ask me, I would say yes. I trusted my soldiers.
Why did you say if? Why would your response came with a condition of if?
Were they good enough? I said yes, if they were deployed efficiently. So you were asking me, were they? So I'm saying yes, they were.
Let's go to page 3 of your presentation. The morning of 2024, you were in a meeting, and then I just wanted to confirm that you said when you had a conversation with Air Force commander in your office, he had sick leave to go to his base to follow up on the missing flights. And then you had later on convened, you proceeded rather, convened to convene a meeting of Malawi Force High Command at your Joint Force headquarters, where you had informed them of the development. Mind to share with the community as who was in this meeting and what were the action points in this meeting where you are informing your Defense Force High Command?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I mentioned, during the course of my presentation to say those who were in the meeting, who formed the High Command, were, apart from me, were at the time, Lieutenant General Jafu, now the commander, the commander or the chief of the Defense Force, and Major General Saiford Kalisha, who was the chief of staff. The action points basically was to narrate to them to say, I'm being informed that the aircraft that was carrying the vice president, supposedly to go to Mzuzu, had not landed at its destination, and the signal at the time was missing. And as such, what we are trying to do is to locate where it is, because by that time we had not yet established whether it had crash-landed. The thinking was that maybe it had diverted to some location. That is why we went to the extent of searching for the aircraft within the aerodromes in Malawi and also outside in Zambia, Tanzania, and Mozambique. Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you so much, General. You had a number of updates with the President and another meeting with the President as a Commander-in-Chief, which was convened at State House with a number of people you have mentioned in your presentation, page 4. Before I go into the questioning of that, do you remember at what point did the President update the nation? The first update of the President?
I'm not aware of that, but I briefed the President, and I know at some point he came on the radio and briefed the nation. At the time, I'm not aware.
You're not aware at the time the President made that admission? If I said the President spoke at 11 o'clock, you agree with me?
It would be.
No, because you were the man at the center of it. The thing which was missing was yours. You were supposed to have a time as to, if you remember what time the President, because if I remember, the President addressed the nation in the evening after a number of meetings.
Yes, so if the President came up, certainly I think it might have been after he had collected enough information and confirming that that was the situation which was obtaining at the particular time.
I'm asking you, Chair, I'm asking because I want you to understand, on page 5, progress report from the Malawi Air Force, where you are saying aircraft was approximately 20 nautical miles north of Mzuzu at around 10-12 hours. That kind of communication. You are the one who had briefed the President that at 10-12 the flight was somewhere around 20 nautical miles north of Mzuzu. That was before the presidential update, is it?
Correct. Correct. That we had received this information from the tower in Mzuzu. And this can also be substantiated or reinforced by the tower in Mzuzu, that this interaction took place.
This update came before you had seek the service providers to locate the phone numbers, which you are saying on the same page that at 15 hours, that's the time some numbers of the passengers were detected within 20 kilometers of the tower within radius of Chikangawa. Can you confirm? You can use your mic. Use it.
Correct, I can confirm. This was information which actually came from the ATC, and this is also information that is coming from the service, mobile telephone operators, the service providers coming up with this information to say they had located a signal after they were given the numbers of those that were on board the aircraft.
In the same briefing which you talked about the thick forest in the Yuanchinji vernacular language of Yakwiya, that was the morning of 11 June 2024 when you're giving an update with the then Minister of Information. There was a mention of black box during that press conference. I followed it. Are you able to speak about it?
Honorable Member, MTF aircraft do not carry black box. Do not carry black boxes. I must be very honest. If that maybe was mentioned, it must have been, I don't know. But I don't think so. And I'll mention to the committee to say MTF, all the aircraft in MTF do not have black boxes. It is only one, which is the Super Puma, which was being used by the first president of the country. And it's a Super Puma. Even if we actually move as a team to Zomba, we will not find any black box in any of the aircraft, both in Zomba as fixed wing and here at Lilongwe Air Base as a rota wing.
Okay. Can you confirm in your presentation you also talking about that at the time of this incident, you are the first force, you had only one serviceable air platform, which could have been used. I'm quoting in your 11 chair on his 11 parade number 11 on regional support. Is it true?
Very, very correct.
So you had an air force with only one serviceable?
Correct.
There, that's the chair. You are saying you had contacted the Zambian Air Force to help on logistic readiness and search efforts. So I want you to confirm to this committee that you had contacted the Zambian Air Force for what? Specifically, can you tell us what was the sole purpose you had contacted the Zambian Air Force?
This generally, I think from this is not me contacting the Zambian Air Force. No, I mentioned two people, the Air Force commander to actually contact his counterpart in Zambia, based on the Standing Aviation Committee's protocol, which talks about assisting sister countries during emergencies. Noting that we are friendly, or we are friends, and also the Minister of Defense at the time contacting his counterpart, Minister of Defense. So these two are the ones that contacted the Zambian counterparts.
But okay, fine, thank you. You were saying they responded positively to help the search effort, but they needed the necessary logistical arrangements for development in the for deployment into search area. Can you help us this necessary logistical arrangement? Who was to make this arrangement? Was it Malay Defense Force, Malay government, or Zambian counterpart?
Thank you very much. It was the Malawi government on behalf of the MDF because they wanted to come, but they said they wanted to be assisted with fuel and accommodation for the pilots or the crew that were coming with the platforms.
So they can only, you're saying they only present themselves in the following day of the
Correct, because the discussion took place in the evening and they could not make themselves ready because also there was there were bureaucracies that were supposed to be respected within their hierarchy of command. Certainly those preparations would take long, and with that they promised or they made sure that they could only arrive in Malawi the next day.
In your veracity as a commander of the then commander of Malawi Defense Force, what's your general feeling on the preparedness of the Defense Force in terms of emergency? I submit, Chair. That'll be my last one.
Thank you very much. That's a very good one. At the time, in terms of preparedness, I think the Malawi Defense Force, in terms of their assets, were actually below the accepted level of preparedness because we didn't have support. I don't see a friendly face which I could have referred to from the previous cohort of the members of parliament who were answering to the Defense and Oversight Committee of Security that several times concerns were actually advanced to say we need actually to upgrade our aircraft and over and above that also procure new equipment in terms of aircraft itself and also supporting accessories or ancillary gear. But maybe due to issues of financial constraints, then these were never provided to the Defense Force. So if you ask me, I want to say yes, I think the level of preparedness at the time was very low. But that does not actually, that does not give us a leeway to say when we were actually launching the flight, we did not actually respond to the particularities or the particulars that are required to certify an aircraft to actually fly. So we could fly, yes, but level of preparedness on the part of supporting such platforms during excursions was actually limited. I thank you, the member of the committee.
That's all, Chair.
So I had recognized Mulanje North, then we go to Rilonge Mude.
Honorable Chair, I just wanted to confirm that from the last cohort, I had been on the Defense and Security Committee of Parliament. Thank you.
Noted. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Permission to engage the witness. General, I've got a few questions that I would want you to clarify. The first one is that as a commander, at the material time, you were the highest ranking military officer in the country. Is it correct that all military operations, including the transportation of VVIPs, required your ultimate authorization?
General, yes or no, so we can proceed?
I want to say yes, Honorable Chair,
Okay.
Aircraft are strategic assets. It's not something that you cannot send willingly and say you are in command. No. These are assets that actually need to be protected. You can actually take it from the fact that we are meeting here because an aircraft made an accident. That actually is information enough or reason enough to say aircraft use and utilization requires to be authorized at the highest level. Should things or incidents of this nature transpire, then certainly we must be able to answer. That's why highest command is required to give his hand of authority on their use.
So in summary is that you are confirming that the ultimate authorization came from you.
I won't disassociate myself with ultimate, because from my presentation you have seen the consultation which took place. The minister was consulted, then the president were consulted. So if we actually use ultimate, then I am afraid to say I was the ultimate authority. If I was the ultimate, outrightly, I was going to say, yes, fly this aircraft to Mzuzu, but I not do that. Thank you, honorable member of the committee.
Okay. Do you accept that the safety of the VVIPs fell within your command responsibility?
Very, very correct. And not only VVIP, but anything that is human. Anything that is human for under my care of responsibility.
Is it correct that MDF has a standard operating procedure for VVIP transport, which requires that the commander personally approve any flight carrying the vice president or the president?
Yes, that is very, very correct. But I want to deviate a bit. There are two. One is a standing operating procedure, and the other one is a standard operating procedure. Of the two, or the two answer to this question, but there are differences, or I would say there are nuances.
Is it correct that you personally approved the flight of the Donia on the 10th June 2024, carrying the vice president and the 8 other passengers?
It is not correct, because I've referred to two people I consulted, the minister and the president. So I wouldn't actually fall into answering to say, yes, yes, yes. No, I consulted two people, and that is in black and white in this presentation which I made.
Maybe just as a follow-up, yes, you had said about a consultation, but I'm talking of approving to say this flight, this plane can take off. Did you personally approve that?
Yes, I did. After receiving authority from the powers that be at the time, then certainly I had to approve following those lines of authority.
Now, if you can just the mic. From our engagement with the President General, one of the considerations that is taken into account before the flight is approved is weather constraints. In this particular case, did you get a briefing on the weather before approving that the Donia should fly from Zuzu to Lilongwe and back?
There was an approval, and this is coming from the reflection or the background that the aircraft was in Mzuzu, and it was able to fly from Mzuzu to Lilongwe. So actually the opposite is true as well, to say at that time, the thinking of the pilots at that time, were that maybe they were going to be able to arrive at their destination. If that was not the case, then certainly the onus was upon them to actually give us the factors that would have restricted their flying back to Mzuzu. If they were able to fly to Lilongwe, then certainly on arrival, they had maybe the audacity to be able to say, we cannot fly back because of these factors. But they were able to say, no, we are going to fly. I thank you, honorable member of the committee.
Thank you, Jenna. You've not answered the question. The question was, did you get any weather briefing before approving the flight from Zuzu to Lilongwe and back? Because one of the considerations before approval is made is weather, the general call it weather constraints. So in this case, before proceeding to give an approval, did you get any weather briefing from your meteorological unit in, sorry for the mic, if you can, in Zomba, on the conditions of the weather obtaining on the particular day before approving the chartering out or hiring of the vehicle, of the flight by the office of the Vice President? Thank you.
Thank you very much. They gave us a briefing, or they gave me the briefing. I got this from the Air Force to say they could be able to fly. Then that was the reason why I said the mission could actually proceed. Thank you, honorable member of the committee.
So the briefing was that the pilots were cleared to say whether in Mzuzu is okay, you can go fly from Mzuzu to Lilongwe. The weather is okay, to and from. So in short, there was clearance as regarding to weather on this particular day by your meteorological unit based in Zomba. Is that correct?
Is that it?
No. Just. Geno, you have indicated in the engagement, the fellow members of Parliament, that various operational responsibilities were delegated to subordinate officers. Would you agree that delegation does not remove accountability and that a commander remains responsible for ensuring that systems of supervision, monitoring, and accountability are functioning effectively?
I agree.
Now, if those systems failed, does that not represent a failure of command at the highest level?
I'm not sure if any failure was noticed. And in my presentation, if at all it was mentioned, it did not fail. Certain things would would be able to malfunction. Nature is nature. anything that is made by man can be subjected to failure. And that is normal. I think we should be able to understand that, honorable member of the committee. So yes, you cannot actually discount accountability when you're talking about matters of delegation. I want to say, yes, you remain accountable through and through. But there are certain instances where certain things would not work according to what is planned. So we cannot generalize or come with with kind of a generalization to say, yes, maybe this failed because maybe you did not supervise. I want to run away from that, because that would not be a correct position of trying to arrive at a position.
General, would you agree that a commander is expected not only to respond to problems once they arise, but also to identify risks, prevent failures, and ensure that adequate systems are in place before tragedy occurs?
Yes, I would want to accept that, but I'll give a scenario. You are an institution, or you have a car and you have a driver. You want to send that driver to collect a parcel either in Blantyre or Mzuzu. You are thinking will be he's going to be able to arrive Blantyre or Mzuzu. But along the way, that driver makes or maybe encounters an accident. Would that be equated to say you were not responsible, or you were accountable maybe to maybe the accident that actually transpired? Maybe no. There are certain forces of nature that will actually take place. And a margin of error in anything that is actually planned is allowed in an operation. So I think we need to live with that kind of understanding.
Finally, given the issues that have emerged before this committee, one of which is you authorizing an airplane with no functional ETL. Is it ELT? Again, allowing the plane to go to Mzuzu and land at an airport that is not certified to with safety for landing. Would that not construe negligence on your part?
Honorable, the last part.
Okay, so you, maybe I should take it from here. You can confirm that you authorized or allowed a plane that had no function, ELT, to fly the Vice President and the 8 others, isn't it? I should start from there first.
Thank you very much. I want to actually refer you to the consultations. You note that I talked to, or I consulted the Air Force commander to say, can this aircraft be able to expedite the mission? He gave me a positive. If it was a positive from an expert, even if it was you, what would you do?
No, I just wanted to confirm that you authorized, allowed a plane that had no functioning ELT to fly the Vice President and the rest of the passengers, isn't it?
So maybe while you're there, at the time that you were authorizing, Did you know that the aircraft was an aircraft ambulance and not an aircraft VVIP anymore? Because it was configured to carry a coffin carrying late Rafka Sambara. So at the time you were authorizing the aircraft ambulance, were you aware that the vice president's comfortability and convenience on this particular flight will be compromised? Because he was sitting in an area in an area that was configured not for VIP.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I want to say no, because these people, when they were being tasked, they actually configure the aircraft. If the aircraft was being configured to ferry a dead body, certainly the configuration would be different. And when the vice president was being allowed to actually take the aircraft and travel to Mzuzu, certainly they were supposed to be the exercise of reconfiguring the aircraft back to a VVIP status. If that did not happen, then maybe that was the fault of those that were operating the aircraft. But that was not supposed to be the case. And I'm sure these people knew and understood that the person they were going to actually transport with his entourage was actually carrying a status of a VVIP. Then certainly that configuration was supposed to have taken place. I want maybe to actually articulate in that manner in response to this question. Now, coming to this, that I did authorize an aircraft. It was a recommendation from my subordinates. I consulted, is the aircraft okay? The issue of the ELT, okay, electronic locating or locator transponder. Understand what transpired, and I hope maybe the gentleman who was the chief of the Air Force, commander of the Air Force, will come and articulate about this issue. The transponder is not that was faulty, no. It's that it had changed, it had been modernized, and it could not actually respond to the modern transponders. And as such, they could actually, no, it could not actually conform with the new or the new or the replaced transponders on other aircraft. That was the issue. So it was an old ELT, and not that actually it was expired. But that, I think, there was a reconfiguration, and it could not actually respond to the new frequencies which were actually applied to new ELTs. So if you ask me about authorizing is something that was faulty, I want to say, or I want to transfer responsibility to the gentleman who I had consulted and actually give me an express authority, or maybe an express yes, General, this aircraft can be able to actually operate effectively and is serviceable. Thank you.
Okay, I remember you had asked me to say the second part. Okay, so I was on the issue of negligence. So one, the premise was that you, despite knowing that the plane was faulty, nevertheless authorized it to go, and the ferry VVIP with the late vice president and the passengers. The second arm of the negligence was that you allowed this plane to go to Mzuzu, an aerodrome that is not licensed.
This part, I'm not aware that the aerodrome is not licensed. For your information, maybe it's information from you. So, civic me, honorable member of the committee. I didn't mention that, you are mentioning it. I'm very happy that I have learned. But at the time, that information was unavailable to me.
Yeah, actually, this is what you, as a general, should have acclimatized yourself. Is the flight safe? Is it safe for the passengers? Where is it going? Is it safe for landing? So had you taken a step to go through these protocols, you should have known that Mzuzu Aerodrome is not licensed to for planes to land on that to land there. So my question remains that don't you think your office was negligent in failing to oversee these safety concerns? 40 plane, 2 unlicensed aerodrome. Thank you.
So maybe
And that is all.
just to answer what he said, he didn't know, the general didn't know, but the issue is we were informed by Mzuzu Airport, aviation authorities, that the airport is not licensed. That's what we were informed, also confirmed by aviation authorities. So the question is, how come you were not made aware when this was common knowledge within the aviation that Mzuzu Airport was not licensed?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I think maybe it was an oversight on their part to actually securate this kind of information, because time and again the airport was being utilized by ourselves and a number of people that we were transporting using the same asset or the same platform to Mzuzu and back to Leong. And not only on this route, but other routes as well. So yes, it would be called negligence, but understand we are coming from where this was not actually announced to us. It was never secreted. Otherwise, maybe we're going to get it as a caveat and say, no, we cannot actually expedite this because of this. Thank you, Honorable Chair. But I want to move away from the parameter of negligence.
Well, we can't run away from it. We can't move it, but we can't run away from it. It's something that we're talking about, and it will depend on the facts that are being presented on the table. So let's not ignore it or remove it. It's something that the committee will establish, depending on how you're going to respond to us. Lilongwe Mude.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. I have 3 questions which are actually looking for some clarity. So thank you so much, General Dr. Piri, for appearing before the committee, and you have answered so many questions. The first one is, I just want to have confirmation from you, General, if this aircraft, MAF Tango 03, had been used before by the former head of state, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, and had also been used before by the late vice president before this incident in question. I want that confirmation. My second question, you briefed this committee that at around 10:45 and 1100 hours, you briefed the former head of state about this flight in question. So I want, if you can remember specifically, at what point did the preliminary search operations commence? Was it sooner after briefing the president at 1100 hours or before that time? At what point did the preliminary search operations commence? And the last one, General, is on the platoon that was deployed in Chikangawa forest for the sake of the rest of Malawians, let me say the soldiers that were deployed in the Chikangawa forest. Do you remember when they were initially deployed for this purpose of Operation Tetezankalango? When, if you remember, they were initially deployed for this purpose of Tetezankalango. Thank you so much, Chair.
let me allow Kasungu North so we can progress with time. Can you take the two questions together?
Thank you, Chair, for giving the chance to Kasungu people to ask a question. I've got three questions to the General. One, what lessons should the Malawi Defense Force draw from this tragedy? Secondly, what reforms would you recommend regarding VIP and VVP, VIP on transportation, air transportation? Thirdly, is there any matter within your knowledge that the committee has not asked about but ought to consider? Thank you, Chair.
Jenna, you can exhaust those two submissions.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'll start with the questions that I've obtained from the member of Parliament belonging to the committee from Lilongwe Mudi. The first question is use of the aircraft by the former head of state and also the vice president, the late vice president. I want to say yes. These people had been using this aircraft. And I want to mention specific times. There was a time, I think, the president had gone to the north and had several meetings there. They were two aircrafts which were being used. And this particular aircraft, Tango 03, was the one which the president was using from Mzuzu to Karonga and Karonga and back. So yes, likewise the vice president several times used this aircraft to travel from Blanta and Lilongwe, and also to travel from Lilongwe to Mangochi. So I want to say yes, they were able to use the aircraft, and they were able to actually leave and actually come back through the same platform. The second question was when the preliminary search commenced. If you look at my presentation, you want to understand that straight away, when I was directing the Air Force commander, I mentioned that I think he should actually look around from the, or find information from aerodromes around the region, within the northern region. That is, we were looking at Karonga, then we also was also advising to look at Likoma. Over and above that, we're looking at those that are within the proximity of the location where the aircraft was going. That was on the left or on the west, Zambia. And we're talking about maybe Lundazi and Chipata. And in the north, we're talking about Lichinga, actually Mbeya in Tanzania. And on the eastern side, we're looking at Lichinga in Mozambique. So basically, when we're talking about commencing preliminary research, these were some of the activities that constituted the preliminary research. So if you ask me, I would say as soon as we actually realized that the aircraft had actually been lost in terms of its signal, then certainly that was the first port of call. We are also talking about aircrafts that were flying in the airspace, or that uses the airspace that actually passes through the area where this aircraft was going. You want to understand that we directed, or I directed, that there should be a deliberate attempt to actually consult or contact Ethiopian Airlines and also Kenya Airways, which I think eventually they responded that they didn't have any sighting nor contact with the aircraft. So I think these were part of the preliminary searches that we were. And In addition, we are talking about also the issue of the funds that the members who were on board the flight that was actually going to Mzuzu. This was all part of this exercise. So commencement is as soon as we realized maybe that this aircraft was missing, then these were the activities that were undertaken at the time. The third question was about soldiers in Chikangawa. I'm not very sure whether I understood the question properly. Was it when they were first deployed?
So basically, General, I wanted you to inform the committee on when the operation at Tetezankarango started. In other words, when was the platoon first deployed in Chikangawa, if you remember?
I'm not privy to that information, or I'm a bit out of memory for when the soldiers were deployed, but it has been quite a while, because it started because of activities that actually came from locals trying to actually destroy the assets of the forest, in this case the trees. And these actually obtained from, number one, burning, number two, maybe charcoal burning as well, and also illegal logging. Then from this, it was actually agreed that soldiers should be deployed and try as much as possible to prevent these occurrences to be occurring. I think those were the three questions from Lilongwe Mudi. And there are also three questions that have come from Kasungu North. Number one was, I think, lessons learned. The lessons learned, if you ask me, I would point at preparations and also coordination. Coordination to be very important. But over and above that, I think funding levels for some of these activities to take place. For example, if you are talking about the military, you need to understand it has got 4 services. And you want to look at it from the parameters of the Army, you want to look at the Air Force, you want to look at the Navy, and you want to look at what we call the Malawi National Service. Each one is unique in its own way. Why am I saying this? If you look at the Air Force, it has got platforms that actually operate using the airspace, and you also have equipment or ground equipment that actually services them for to be able to efficiently fly, or also to be able maybe to land on the ground. So it is important that there is enough funding that these areas can be attended to, and that the level of effectiveness and efficiency are reached and are always with these functions. Likewise, if you also talk about the Navy, we want to look at the water platforms that actually float on the water surfaces. Very important, because anything can happen. If you don't have enough funding, or if you don't fund this service good enough or enough, you'll find that most of the times they will be wanting. Their capability will actually be degraded. So if they are degraded, certainly you'll be prone to accidents. So I would really want seriousness to actually be imposed when people are requesting for funding. And also maybe to go to the members of parliament that are sitting here in this committee, specifically those that answer, apart from maybe the budget itself, but when you want to look at responding to the budget that come from an institution like the MTF, to consider them. They actually save the nation because the assets that they look after or that they utilize are not for them, but are for the service of the nation. So the lessons learned is actually a care for equipment and also funding, but also proficiency in terms of maybe operating these platforms. Even the soldiers themselves, there are a number of things that one would want to look at. You want to look at equipment. Every day, forces are modernizing, and modernizing and improving the force image would actually come from what is contemporary, and specifically from the threats that obtain at a particular time. The second question was about reforms. Reforms are really important. And the first reform is maybe to reform the minds and the hearts of those that make decisions to fund these people. So I want to be very honest. Let's reform our minds, because sometimes we negatively respond to say, no, maybe this will be a lot of, maybe will just be a waste of financial resources. Maybe let's reform and try to be open enough so that we can be able to actually fund an institution like the MDF to a level where it can be effective and also efficient in whatever it does in its endeavor to actually service the dictates of what the state looks at in terms of harnessing or husbanding the aspect of security. I also want to look at the third area, which mostly is attached to the reforms. Areas of serious consideration. You want to look at these platforms, which are really, really very delicate. If you're looking at air platforms, if you're looking at maybe maritime or naval resources, these are assets that actually require a lot of attention in areas of maybe servicing, but also refreshing their outlook. If that is the area that needs to be considered, then I would actually prioritize it to be number one. So there are areas where you want to look at the services and you want to bounce that against the threats that obtain against the security of the state. By looking at that, then certainly we are going to come up with areas that we need to reinforce and actually renew or maybe improve the equipment and I would say assets that are used by the military. The other area is also interaction between, I think, the civilian component and those that are actually in the service. Maybe regular interaction so that we are aware of what is obtaining. There are cases in point where budgets have come from the MTF, but those I think, suggestions or propositions are never attended to. So it's something really that we need to consider. But also, I want to actually emphasize and reinforce that anything that has to wear the status of a VVIP must be given careful and strict attention. I think this is very, very important. I want to stop there and submit, honorable members.
Sorry, Chair. Maybe he hasn't answered me, maybe question 52, question that I have. Question number 3. Is there any matter within your knowledge that the committee has not asked about, but you ought to consider?
I think the committee has managed. Honorable Chair, Honorable from Kasungu North, I want to say the committee has managed to exhaust most of the areas that maybe actually go to address the issues specifically that went into the activities of the aircraft that crashed. My only concern or area that I want to propose is maybe an issue of the members of parliament and the MDF to interact regularly so that there's a clear understanding of what each of these institutions can be able to do in terms of security for the nation. I find this to be absent most of the times. It should not be these institutions meeting when there's an occurrence. Maybe we should be meeting, or the institutions should be meeting, even if there's nothing, but maybe in anticipation if something actually occurs. That would be something I would really cherish if it is considered. Member of the committee from Kasungu North, I hope I've now addressed all your concerns. I submit.
Thank you. Well done.
So we're going to have a last question from the member, Karabe North. He's been itching to ask a question for a long time.
Chair, thank you very much. I've been raising up my hands until I just stay quiet. I said, let the General leave without me at least asking question. General, sorry, I've got a report here for Commission of Inquiry for the presidency last time. On page 75, it reads, the Commission further established that at 12:15 hours, His Excellency the President understood the MDF commander. I think it was you, right? Telephone calls as an alert to the effect that the aircraft was failing to land in Mzuzu due to bad weather and may be on its way back. I've underlined here. Then on your report, this sentiment, it changes. It comes, had failed to arrive at its intended destination and that contact with the aircraft had been lost. So I'm confused, which is which? Because Malawian knows that you told the nation that the airplane did not, it failed to land in Mzuzu. Now you are telling the nation or the committee that it failed to arrive. So it was arrived on the first stage. Now it has failed in life. My question is, did you change this statement after seeing the BFU report? First question. Secondly, it was on a briefing. Here again, on your report, you say that the former president had instructed that the public be informed of development through appropriate official channel. Consequently, I coordinated closely with the Minister of Information, Honorable Moses Kunkuyu. My question comes, on your briefing, you were back-to-back with Moses Kunkuyu, the former Minister of Information. But we learned on that particular time that the minister informed the nation that the black box has been kept. But you didn't refute that sentiment to the minister or to the nation. What can you tell the nation? Because now you're saying the airplane, MDF airplane has got no black box. But the minister confirmed to the nation that the black box has been kept safe. So my question here is why you didn't refute at that particular time, and now you are bringing that the airplane does not have a black box. Thank you, Chair, for giving me this chance.
Over to you, General.
Thank you very, very much. Honorable member from Ngata Bay North. Thank you very much. I think the first question is based on the BFU report and my presentation. And there are two statements. One from the BFU report is talking about the aircraft failing to land. And in my report, I'm saying the aircraft failing to arrive. I'm not very sure, maybe.
Excuse, Chair, point of correction. You reported, not the BFU report, on the first you reported on the Commission of Inquiry, the previous one, that the airport failed to land in Mzuzu due to bad weather. Here they have mentioned, you said due to bad weather. Here you are telling us it had failed to arrive at its intended destination. So my question was, did you blow this information after you have seen, you lady, or you have seen the photo or satellite photo from VFU report? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No, I think the two statements are almost the same. Maybe is the way of presentation. Failing to arrive and failing to land, I don't think there's a difference. Even if I use Chichewa, walepera kufika, walepera, I think they are one and the same thing. I'm not very sure how you would want to package and contextualize your question. I think they are one and the same. And maybe you simply want to bring me to attention of the BFU report. Thank you very much. I want to say thank you. Because the BFU report, and I could not actually talk about what is in the other statements that are in the other reports. I didn't want to do that. I want you to actually sample what my feelings are and what I'm reporting, and based on the summons that were actually given to me. So the language which is being used, I think is one and the same. So I'm not very sure, maybe I am understanding or getting you right. What was reported from what you are narrating to me is one and the same in both reports. Maybe they are just the reports, but if you actually translate it, go deep into it, they actually answer to the same question. Number two, you are saying, Honorable Kunku talked about the black box being returned. I'm not sure if people are at a platform, this is a journal, or maybe this is somebody, two people at a platform are talking, and everybody is listening. So somebody says, no, this is what has happened. The aircraft maybe has actually failed to land and we are trying to locate it. Or maybe the aircraft has crashed. And if it has crashed, then certainly all efforts are being done to salvage whatever was in the aircraft. One, if there were individuals or Homo sapiens in it, then certainly they must be repatriated. That's fine. Somebody has refused, has finished making that narration. Somebody comes up and say, no, there was a black box in the aircraft and we are failing. Seriously, seriously. Would somebody raise up and say, no, that is not correct? Maybe beside I went and say, no, that statement was wrong. If you had asked me, because I haven't been asked, maybe if you go back to him, he would say maybe the general will pointed out to say MDF aircrafts do not have black boxes. But I would not actually come openly there and then on the platform to say, no, that is not the correct position. I want to present, I think, the response in that manner or in that fashion. Thank you, Honorable Chair from Katabe North.
Chair, we want to conclude, but I'm still seeing a lingering hand from our Vice Chair. I'll give him the floor.
Honorable Chair, I retired, so I have all the time.
Thank you, Chair. We'll have lunch together. Chair, I think the General has responded to Nkatabe North. What he has not responded is on the time that on this, his presentation talks about 10:35, but in the Commission of Inquiry report, he contacts the President with almost the same information at 12:15. He didn't answer that. But I have also another issue related to time, Chair, if you allow me. The General has presented to this committee that the approval was granted at 18 hours. I'm reading on page 2, where it says, I must mention, the consultations took place between 15:15 and 16:45 hours. Then at about 18 hours, I informed Dr. Squese, etc., about the approval. Are you aware, General, that late Sambalopa and the late Flora Selemani were informed immediately. They arrived at Nzuzu at 1732 that they had an exit assignment to carry the vice president. Are you aware? Are you also aware, as you're answering that the MDF headquarters at 1519 communicated the head of operations, giving him instructions to say, we have got this assignment. And it was the operations at 1732 instructing the crew to say you have a next assignment. But here, you are saying the approval was at 18 hours. It's like the approval was being done when here, things are already happening. Can you confirm? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable, the Deputy of the Ad hoc Committee. I want to actually respond in this fashion. The approval took a lot of time. Understand, I think, when I spoke to Dr. Squese, he was at Chileka. And that was around 3 or past 3. From there, he took actually the return flight, which actually left at about 4:30 or 20 to 4. Then they arrived here sometime around 4 o'clock or past 4. Then, looking at what happens when somebody has landed, certainly they had to look for maybe their luggage. Remember, these people were coming from a long trip that was from South Korea. Certainly, they had to wait for their luggage. Maybe it took a lot of time. Now, when you want to look at that time, I was involved with the consultation. He had given me an assignment, and these people were not in one place. The Air Force commander was here. I simply wanted to ascertain the position of the aircraft and also maybe its suitability or serviceability. Then secondly, I wanted to actually talk to the minister and finally the head of state. Now, you want to look at the time that the PS took from Chileka and to arrive at Lilongwe International Airport, then maybe travel from Lilongwe International Airport to his house. You'll find that maybe it was sometime maybe past 5 or maybe even to 6. So I was waiting for them or for him to actually arrive and give him the responses.
Chair, maybe before he continues, just to be clear, do you issue instructions to maybe people in operations before approval has been granted?
No, I was coming to that. I want to come to that.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm not very sure how that kind of time frame or time sequence was arrived at. Maybe somebody reported something wrongly. Because if these people were moving, I'm not sure an order could actually be advanced whilst people are still traveling. There must be some disconnection of the presentation. Because some people are traveling from and they're looking for authority, and that authorization has not arrived. Then certainly where can we get that kind of activity from without? We required authority. So I think maybe there must be some disconnection, or maybe somebody mislogged that kind of information. Because the operation maybe could only start. Also, if it started earlier, then it can't be around 1635, because that was the time I was still struggling to get maybe authorization from these people I was consulting.
Chair, this information I'm giving you is obtained from the MDF report. So unless you are disowning the findings of the MDF, because that report is available to the chair I've shown him where I've taken this. So I just wanted to triangulate this with you as MDF commander. So unless you are saying that when you're disowning, we should be based on this. I submit, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member of the committee. I think there must be some reconsultation on that. But if you look at the time these people were traveling and the time that are being logged and presented in that report, maybe there's a disconnect and it requires revisiting to a certain extent. What I'm presenting is realistic because people are traveling. Then within that time, if you tell me maybe they started, okay, they started after 1700, then maybe I can say, yes, maybe I said, can you start the preparations? But if it is at 1635, and that is the time, these people maybe are flying from Blantyre to Lilongwe.
Thank you, General. Thank you very much, General. Sorry to interrupt. I think it's time to wind up. I just have one question, if not two. You said the search and rescue activities did not stop. So we wanted to find out what search activities actually happened between sunset and in the morning. Because there's any report of what activities were taking place during the night when the rumored call-off was made up until morning. Which areas did they go? Are you aware? These soldiers that were there, what actually did they do during the night until morning? Well, all we know is what happened during the day, but not during the night until morning. Maybe if you can fill in that gap. The last one for me, General, is there's an item 5. In the morning of 10th June, while attending a meeting at Defense Office Headquarters with executives from Lilongwe Handling Company, which included the Air Force Commander, I observed the Air Force Commander leave the meeting to answer what seemed to be an urgent telephone call. I just wanted to know, what was the agenda of this meeting with Lihako on this particular day on 10th June? Was it a coincidence that the Army was meeting Lihako on the 10th of June? Was this a scheduled meeting, a regular meeting that was taking place between the Army and Lihako? If you can just clarify, what was the agenda? Was this a routine meeting? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I want to respond to the first question. Activities of the search that took place or that were taking place at night. Remember I said the search commenced from the northern part of the forest, and they were from 2 locations. I said number 1 is started from Kasitu Camp, where the troops are located for Operation Tetezankarango. And the second one, or the second team, started from Vipia, the library aerodrome. Now, during this search, soldiers actually conduct patrols. So this task of the search and rescue was actually given as a mission to the soldiers at night to be conducting patrols by picketing the terrain or the forest. I am told, okay, somebody said the soldiers are equipped for this kind of operation, but maybe us, as the police, we are not properly equipped. But that was a concern which maybe was brought along the way. I just heard about it. But when you look at it, soldiers were patrolling, and the objective was actually to locate the aircraft. So there were patrols that were being sent or conducted to look for the aircraft that had been lost. These were the activities that took place. Unfortunately, that night, they did not, but they were progressing towards the northern part of the forest, or Chikangawa forest. So if we had ventured into the other part, then certainly would have known that wherever they were going was the direction where the aircraft was located, had crashed and also located. The second question, Honorable Chair, was the meeting with Rihago, and it's very interesting. You were saying, was it a routine one? Was it? I think there were two parameters that were added to the question. This one was not a routine meeting. It was a meeting whereby Rihago was trying to actually partner with the MDF to be utilizing the bigger aircrafts which were procured from China to actually be transporting merchandise from Malawi to different points where they had contracts. So they had actually come to the MTF to actually present their case. They had been urging for this meeting, but we were actually pressured with a number of activities. But we had found space on this particular day, so it was just a coincidence. Nothing wearing the pigmentation of a routine transpired from the occurrence of the meeting. It was simply planned and coincidental that as it was actually in progress, then this came, or the Air Force commander received this message from his people at the air base in Zomba. Thank you, Chair.
A point of order, Chair.
Yes.
Yes.
Chair, General here, when he was responding to the question from Honorable Member from Katabe, yes? He said after the press briefing, how do members know that I had a conversation with the Honorable Minister behind the scenes? What if I told him that the information that you provided is wrong? Because I could not do that in front of the cameras. I thought maybe, Chair, we needed to know whether indeed that conversation was there behind the scenes. Thank you.
Can you maybe just clarify that matter? This is an issue pertaining to the black box.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I said maybe I addressed that, but to me, as far as I'm concerned, I didn't hear that part. Or I knew MDF aircrafts do not have black boxes. Wherever, if it was mentioned, which I did not hear, and I want to mention to this, I did not hear. If it was reported, well and good, that was him. But MDF aircrafts do not have black boxes. And we can as a team move today to Zomba, to the air base, and the information that we'll find, even if we surprise them or ambush them, that will be the material evidence that we'll find on the ground. Aircrafts will not have black boxes. If he mentioned that, maybe he mentioned it maybe with excitement, or maybe he was zealous with maybe trying to articulate issues. But as for me, certainly that would not have come from my mouth. And I think I didn't do that. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
No, that's fair. I think we'll have an opportunity to interface with the former Minister of Information. So we'll seek further clarification at that time. But you have done your best to explain issues. And I think the public is much aware now about the status of military aircrafts and the existence or non-existence of black box. Before, it was a gray area, but now it's now common knowledge. Having gone this far, General, I would like to appreciate you for your stamina. Your endurance in this session has been commendable. You've given us much attention, and I'm sure there will be another interaction, because your report was not complete. we'll discuss with the Secretary on how we can close this small bit, but you've pretty much said everything. So you were the Commander-in-Chief, so you will appreciate why members were trying to get as much information as possible because you were directly responsible. And having said all this, General, a lot of things went wrong. I'm sure you agree. I don't have to take stock of what went wrong. And I wonder why, when this happened, you didn't resign. Is there any specific reason why you didn't resign?
Honorable Chair, that's a very interesting, maybe direction of the consultation. I'm not sure. Maybe from your audit, how do you arrive or make somebody resign for certain things which somebody is thinking is going on right? Should I assume that by now you have come to a conclusion to say everything was wrong, then the commander should have resigned? Should I posit that kind of question? You should say everything, even what I've mentioned, amounts to a scenario where I should have resigned.
General, I want to respond. So the reason being is that you were responsible as an army commander. Yes. You were accountable, all right? And members are bringing issue of accountability to you. Certainly there was a lot of failures that we have all pointed out. I don't have to list them. The list is endless. The EOT was not functional. The aircraft was not a VVIP aircraft. It was an ambulance. The search and rescue, you might have done some preliminary work, but it was delayed. Disorganized. It's a fact. Everybody knows Malawans are not happy the way the search and rescue was conducted. It's common knowledge, you know. Adverse weather conditions were ignored and the flight proceeded. You may not have been the pilot, but you approved the flight. And I'm just stating the facts as they are, that a lot of things went wrong. If things did not go wrong, that plane would not have crashed. Wouldn't have crashed. So I'm only stating it, and I want you to justify. This is a fair question. I want you to justify whether you resigning or was the right decision or not. And you have a right to defend yourself.
Chair, I have problems with the line of questioning that you have taken and the conclusions that you are making, because I think they need us at the end of everything to make that conclusion that things were wrong. So, Chair, I feel like you should excuse us so that we discuss this not in camera, because I feel like we cannot be making conclusions of that nature at this point. Thank you, Chair.
This is my opinion. Everybody has been asking their opinion.
But you had said the committee, everyone is saying that. So I think I would join Longemode that if we are to take that road, that every witness, we should give our opinion in place of the witness and make our judgment, then we are going astray. The Zagasina is not going to be in agreement with that kind of. I think this is why police is arresting witnesses before we finish the inquiry.
No.
Because of that kind of statement.
He has a right to defend himself now or not. And I've asked him, he has to defend himself. Was it justifiable for him to continue working or resign? Is it up to him to answer that question? It's a fair question, straightforward question. You can come and defend him, but let him answer.
Okay. Thank you very much. and I will defend myself in this manner. I think I was invited or summoned to present my side of the story. And I think I've given a fair side of a narrative that actually obtained on that particular day. And in this is coming from a list where the story started, okay? There is actually somebody reporting to me the aircraft is missing or has not landed wherever it's supposed to land. From there, I'm saying thank you very much. If that is the case, let's find out where it is. And I'm directing you as somebody who is responsible for overseeing or the oversight of running that institution to actually find out where this aircraft is. Then I'm coming out with the same to say, where did this begin? It was a request that came from a VVIP person, the second highest position person in the country, a vice president. Requests an asset from the MDF. Then along the way, this asset does not actually arrive or take him where he's supposed to go. I'm able to actually narrate how that was actually transacted or reacted to. I'm also talking about the consultations which I did to the various members and responding to actually the procedure that should obtain should a scenario or a situation of that manner transpire. I further go ahead to look at maybe the meetings that I had with the powers that be at the time so that I could update them. Then we could also look at the preliminary measures that would amount to a preliminary search. Then from there, we actually transition to a physical search on the ground. Certainly, if these are the activities of somebody who is working to actually come out with a status or an outlook where the approach is result-oriented, I'm not sure whether this committee would come and discount or actually smear that person to say, maybe you were failing to do your job. Maybe the best thing that was going to happen was for me, from the onset, to simply say, I understand everything went wrong. As far as I'm concerned, I have been able to clearly advance my position. And I like your aggressiveness, Honorable Chairperson. That actually gives me the stimulus actually to respond, to say, no, I could not. I was doing my job, and I think I was doing it right. This is why I'm able to articulate the issues from the start to the finish. If along the way I was not able to address anything, then certainly I was not going to provide the answers which I've provided to the committee. So I would say kudos up for you for actually stimulating me to react in this manner. Honorable Chair, I was working and I could not resign. In a football match, you have been actually, you have been actually scored maybe 3 goals. Just simply say we are abandoning the match? No. My defense would actually come from this factual data that actually have actually complemented my narration of anything and everything that actually transpired from when the vice president made the request that he should actually fly to Mzuzu. Then whatever action actually obtained was my reaction. If that merits or disqualifies me to be a competent person, I want to say I'm refusing. I was one of the most competent generals in this land. Number one, my education, high standard. And it was not done in this country. Number two, if you look at my professional qualifications, you want to actually, if you check what I did and how I merited, they were all superb. I want to defend myself in that manner, which means delivery on the ground can be matched to what I achieved. Level of proficiency in that manner, and I think even this committee is convinced the general was able to respond appropriately. I never actually recused myself from any question that came from you, honorable members. I think this is enough for my defense and defending myself. I want to stop there, Chair. Congratulate you for actually stimulating me to respond in this manner. I submit and I thank you.
I appreciate, General. There's certain things you didn't say outright, but they've come up that I've provoked you. And I appreciate your reasons, the mitigating circumstances you have explained. And, so I just wanted to hear it from you. And not only for me, but for the sake of everybody else. So this should mark the end, General, of our engagement with you. You may have any final words to say.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. My final words is simply to congratulate the committee and also to thank government for considering to come back and take maybe a real look at what transpired and come up with a re-inquiry or a third or fourth inquiry on the same. So I think it's a job well done, and it's always good also to actually exhaust what actually transpired and for certain things to have happened. And be able to understand maybe what went wrong and also what went on right. That's the way how things can be improved. If that is not done, certain things cannot improve. My understanding is whatever was summoned or were the items that were given as summons to me were the terms of reference for me. And certainly I was supposed to respond within the confines of those items. This, I think, has been a good thing. Mostly, I know there's certain information that you did not know, or members of the committee did not know. And through this interaction, you are now in the know. I hope that to contribute enormously to you coming up with a position of what actually transpired. I think not all is lost. MDF will still continue being there, and I think it will strive to be a very good organization. It has always been, and I think it will contribute. And I hope it will continue contributing positively to the development of the country and also responding to anything that comes negatively that actually affects the efficient and proficient running of the country. In terms of threats that can come maybe as natural or maybe artificial, those I want really to list as things we should actually ride upon and do better. But also to request as members of parliament that when certain institutions of importance like the MDF, which are responsible for the security of the state, they should be actually listened to and considered. It should not just be, no, I think there are other priorities. I know priorities are set by looking at maybe the magnitude of the problems. But I think if you overlook defense or security, then certainly you are losing yourself. You cannot stay in a house, or you cannot call a house without a roof. It's not complete. So understand me from that perspective. If the MDF is not properly resourced, it will not give you the best. So please help the MDF to be resourced properly so that it can be able to undertake its functions properly. And so that they also the nation can be defended appropriately. Assets that belong to the MDF or that are used or utilized or that are attached to the MDF are for the nation and not for the MDF as such. It's for the nation to utilize. So let's take care of the MDF so that they take care of the assets that they are given for them to be able to actually service the day-to-day requirements, good or bad, that the nation encounters. I want to stop there, but I want to thank you for the interaction that, should I say, intensive interaction that I've had with the committee, and also the parting shot that came from the chair of the committee. The chair and everybody else belonging to the committee, I want to thank you. And I submit. Thank you.
Thank you, General. You may take leave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mwaisayesa ntchito sikupezeka, mwana mnyumba kusowabe, ichitaka pa bizinesi yanu chakusokonezanu, wosadandaula, kuli Dr. Maiye ku Mbulumbudzi.
Muitano wa bizinesi, mwai wa ntchito, kukonza nsoma banja, kusula chibelekero.
Matenda okanika kuchirawo, matsoka osatha pa moyo wanuwo, lero pa banja makukuthothani, wosadandaula, tangoimbani foni pa 0894 352 832 0894 352 832. Dr. Maiye, madotolo wa chinyengo musamale. Kodi munamvapo za Dr. Erube kwa Vumbwe?
Dokota Erube, Dokota Erube. Dokota Erube, Dokota Erube.
Kodi mukufuna mwitano wa bizinesi mtupatupa? Timabwezeresa banja likasokonekera kwa mphindi 40, timatsirika munthu akaberedwa. Chuma, bizinesi ziziyenda bwino, bwerani kwa Dr. Erube kumene timathandiza zonsezi. Nkhani zachitaka zavuta, bwerani kwa Dr. Erube, timathandizanso mwitano komanso kuvalirana anthu nkhope. Mukafuna kudziwa zambiri, imbani foni pa 089 94 26491 0899 426491, ndipo mukatero mudzathandizidwa. Dr. Erube, Dr. Erube, Dr. Erube, anachepa.
Welcome to MPUNGWE-PUNGWE YouTube channel. Subscribe for you to enjoy more of our videos anytime we upload.